We'll talk about cessation cases, and we'll talk about what cessation even means. Because before I started working for you, I didn't know what the word cessation meant because I've never heard it used for anything other than what we're about to talk about with disability cases.
Right.
But yeah, so you get approved for Social Security disability benefits. You have health insurance now, and you have a monthly benefit that you get. The idea is that it doesn't expire, but sometimes they will do reviews to basically make sure that you're still eligible for the program.
Right.
If those reviews result in a certain way or result in a certain decision that they make, then they will stop your benefits.
Correct.
They will cease your benefits.
That's
That's
right.
where the cessation comes from. And then what do you do about that? So a lot of people, before they even get approved for benefits, are worried about, what if I get cut off? Are they going to keep their eye on me? Are they going to be reviewing me every month or two? So talk to us a little bit about how that works.
Yeah, that's whoever approves you in the letter that you get. If it's at a hearing, it'll be the judge. But if it's at the lower levels, and that does happen, we've been really hard on the lower levels in our podcast, but people do get approved
Yeah.
at the lower levels.
It doesn't always go to the hearing. Yeah.
It's just a really small percentage. But yeah, you'll get a letter and it'll say something like, your condition is expected to improve, and therefore we've set a diary date on your case, and we'll notify you if we do review your case. If you're a younger individual, and keeping in mind Social Security believes that any adult 49 down to 18 is a younger individual, you're probably going to have at least one continuing disability review, and that's what it's called, a CDR, continuing disability review. If you're 52 and a half, they usually don't bother with it, but there are exceptions. For example, they run these earnings queries from time to time because Social Security and IRS and unemployment, your Department of Employment Security in your state will, report to Social Security new hires if you've just gotten a job, and then earnings. And that can trigger a CDR, continuing disability review. So I do like to tell people, especially if they're younger, you can probably expect going through one of these. There are a lot of things that I like about a CDR case, though, and we'll talk about that. But what it is you'll get a letter, and they'll just tell you that, your case has come up for review. It could be, if they gave you a 3-year diary, those 3 years have passed. Most likely, if they gave you a 3-year diary, those 5 years have passed because it takes them a while to kind of catch up on that. But they'll send you a letter telling you what they're going to do. And what you need to remember is they're not trying to cut you off, but they are trying to review your case to see if you improved. And you got to think about it from Social Security's standpoint. And you already said it, if you have been approved for benefits, now you've got some health insurance, it stands to reason that Social Security would say, okay, well, this person, if it was a mental health case, they got into therapy and they're going into regular continuing therapy, and it's very likely that they could get better. This person with all these orthopedic problems that we allowed, now they're able to go in there and they're able to get physical therapy, or they've been able to get a corrective surgery, back surgery, knee surgery, shoulder surgery. They've been able to do that. It stands to reason that, okay, well, you had some kind of procedure or some treatment that should result in you being a little bit better.
Yeah.
And if you have gotten better, you could now no longer meet the definition of disability. What I like about a CDR case, a cessation case, is if they go through this, the burden's on them to prove that you've, 1, gotten better, and then the biggie, 2, you've gotten so much better that you can work.
Yeah.
Got to think about how unlikely that is, sadly. The human condition, the older we get, we don't recover as quickly from injuries. We don't respond as well to certain kinds of treatment. And so if you were put on in your 30s and now you're in your 40s, time can take its toll, and the chances of your medical records showing that, one, you've improved, and two, you've improved to such an extent that you could make it through an 8-hour workday, a 40-hour work week, 50 weeks out of the year.
Yeah.
That's a tall task for Social Security to prove. And that's why I say that I like them, because when we're dealing with regular claims, we have to prove that you're disabled. The burden is on us. But it flip-flops in a CDR case. In a cessation case, Social Security has to prove that you got better, and that you got better to the extent that you can work now. They do that the same way that they do initial or reconsideration case. The lower levels process these claims. They request medical records. Sometimes they'll send you to an exam, and then the same doctors who work there for other things will say, okay, well, this person, they do what they call a side-by-side analysis. And here's when we put them on, this is what we found. Are the medical records so different right now in an improved way that we're going to cease them? And if so, you're going to get a letter, you got two-month notice that we're going to cease your benefits, and you can appeal it. And while you're appealing, there's two things that we don't obviously run into in regular initial or reconsideration cases. There are two appeals that you have to be very mindful of. If you've gotten that cessation letter, you have 10 days to tell them, okay, I am going to appeal this, and while I'm appealing it, I want you to send me my check.
Yeah.
And
while it's under review.
It's called benefit continuation. You want to do that. And you have to do that in 10 days. And that kind of trips some people up. People come to us all the time and they say, I'm going through a cessation case, and I got my letter, and what am I going to do? Are you receiving benefits still? No, they cut me off. Did you appeal that? Well, I have 60 days. No, you have 60 days to appeal the decision that they're going to cease you, but you only have 10 days to tell them, while I'm in the appeal process, I want my benefits continuing. So that's something you have to be very mindful of.
Yeah.
But that's what you'll get. You'll get a letter, and then you'll get the notice. If you want to appeal and receive benefits while you're in your appeal, you have to let us know. And then the 60-day deadline, you have to appeal that just like any other 60-day deadline you get in any kind of decision from Social Security. So that's that's the mechanics of a cessation case. It's a little bit different at the lower levels. At a regular new disability claim, the first level is the initial level. In a CDR, the first level is the initial level, and then the second level in a initial claim or a regular claim is the reconsideration, but it's not called that in a cessation. You're actually before a hearing officer, and the hearing officer still works at the lower level place. They're not a judge, but it is kind of a hearing, and they basically ask you why you believe that you're still disabled. The medical records show this, blah 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 blah. If you're represented, your representative will be there at that too. And then if the hearing officer denies your case at that second level, which is kind of the same as reconsideration, then it's the same after that. Goes to an administrative law judge at a hearing level, and that's how that proceeds. Everything else is the same.
Yeah, that makes sense. We've done a few episodes talking about different conditions and how not all conditions are expected to last the same amount of time.
Right.
And so a good example of something that would recover is if you're otherwise healthy, but you have really bad arthritis in your knee, you get a knee replacement, and it actually works out pretty well.
Yeah.
Now you're able to go back to work. You have to be expected to remain out of work for 12 months or longer for disability, but it's just 12 months. So if you recover in 14 months, you would technically qualify.
Right.
And then if they stop your benefits and you go back to work after those 14 months, then that's completely fine.
Sure.
There are other conditions, like if you have a double amputation, that's not, 14 months later, you still have a double amputation.
Right.
That's not going to make any kind of difference. So for the actual, for the reviews itself, it's just the claimant can expect to get a letter from Social Security, and then what is the not when their benefits are stopped, but when they're under review, what does the claimant actually have to do? Do they do anything?
Yeah, good question. The exact same thing as they did on the initial and reconsideration letters. You're going to get forms.
Just forms.
It's going to be the same forms too. They don't
Yeah.
have special forms about, tell us about how your condition improved. It's basically, what do you do during the day? Are you able to feed your animals? Are you able to cook,
Yeah.
clean, shop, be around others, drive? The exact same form, pain questionnaire. What's your pain like? Is it sharp? Is it stabbing? Is it achy? Is it dull? What kind of medication are you taking? Do you have any side effects from the medication? Mental health? Do you have difficulties concentrating, staying on task? Being around other people? Same exact things. And if there's a little work, they'll probably send you a work history form because Social
Yeah.
Security's interested in you the last 5 years. That's rarely going to be an issue in a CDR because you've been disabled. But you could have some earnings, if you worked, you tried someplace and it didn't work out, but you were there for a couple months, you could have a couple 3,000 earnings, and they're going to want to know about that. What did you do? Why'd you leave? Stuff like that. That's not as common, but as the other forms. But yeah, the ADL form, the pain questionnaire that we've talked about, the activities of daily living, ADL.
Yeah,
form.
all those same forms that you get when you file the case.
And they're not
initially.
special. They're not different just because
Yeah.
it's a CDR. Because keep in mind, they're going to do a side-by-side analysis. So they're really just, the new side is going to be the new forms. The old side is going to be the old forms that they have in your record. And they do, they do keep these records for a long, long time.
Yeah.
Usually, I tell my clients, usually if you are 45 or younger, if they're 49 when they're approved, by the time Social Security looks at their case, they're that magic 52 and a half age, and they'll probably just, we're not going to mess with that. But I'll tell my clients who are like 45 or younger, you can expect it. You can expect at least one. If you're in your 20s and you get approved, even if you are a double amputee, they'll put what they call a permanent diary on your case. They'll definitely do that. And it'll still come up for review in 7 years because there's a regular diary, which is 3 years. Then there's the special diary that, okay, this he didn't respond in this 12 months to the stroke, but we still think that he's going to. And so they'll give an 18-month diary, stuff like that. And then there's, okay, this guy's a double amputee, or they've got this chronic condition that there really is no treatment that makes them improve in any kind of marked way. We'll give them a permanent diary. But permanent, again, is a 7-year diary, so 7 or 8 years. Somebody might look at that and say, they should look at that and say, yeah, there's no reason to review this case. There's no way that it could change. There's nothing that they could do to improve this situation. But if you're in your 20s, and you don't get that, you don't have a condition, that's, horribly chronic, obviously horribly chronic, you can expect not just a CDR, probably several in the course of drawing disability. And it's like anything else on Social Security. It's pretty much a political football that gets kicked around quite a bit. Social Security is always trying to balance getting claims out quickly to saving the taxpayer money, and it's for some reason it's a seesaw. You can do one, but you can't do the other. Mm-hmm. If you want to get a case out efficiently and correctly, it's going to cost the taxpayer money. Sometimes they're like, we've got to be efficient and we've got to be accurate. And then there are times we've got to save the taxpayer money. And then when that happens, usually you'll see a dramatic influx of CDRs. It's happened in my home state many times to where we just start getting calls from people that we won their case like 2 or 3 years ago. I just got a letter that they're going to review me. Should I be alarmed? No. But you should do the things that they ask you to do. And if they deny you, give us a call, and usually 99% of the time, I'll take their case on a CDR, especially if I'm the one who helped get them approved, and we'll fight it again.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's telling a client that they can expect to get reviewed any amount of times. But I mean, if you're telling a 20-year-old, hey, you're going to be reviewed multiple times,
Yeah.
that can be scary for some people,
Sure.
and they get kind of worried about it. But as long as you fill out the forms on time, in the correct way, and as long as you're still disabled and you're not trying to hide anything, you haven't secretly gone back to work, there's nothing to be worried about it. I mean, it's annoying to have to fill out the forms every few years, but your case should speak for itself. You already got approved, and then it should just
That's
speak for itself.
That's a fantastic point, and that is normally what happens. There, obviously because of what we do, we see a lot of people getting denied disability benefits because of what we do. We hear from people who are going through a CDR. We've gotten a letter that they're ceasing our benefits. Because of what we do, we see that, but that's not really the way it is in real life. I mean, especially with the CDR folks. I don't know the percentage. I haven't done the research, but I would say at least half, if not 2/3, of the cases that are up for CDR, somebody looks at it before they start it at Social Security, and they're like, "Nah, there's no way. There's no way this person's gotten any better." And it just doesn't go down. Or even if it does, the medical records will come in and they'll look at why they approved the case in that what they call the comparison point decision. They'll look at the comparison point decision, why we approved it, and then what's going on now. And like I said, it's not just has it gotten a little bit better. It's has it gotten so much better that now they can work. And when they see that, sometimes they'll just, okay, we're going to continue your benefits.
Yeah.
But sometimes, like I said, if you're that 20 or 30-year-old or even 40-year-old, if you're in those younger age brackets, you'll get the letter, and it's going to say sometime in that letter, we may review your case again in 3 to 5 years. We may review your case again in 2 years. It'll say that somewhere in there, and they're not blowing smoke. I mean, they're really meaning that. Yeah, there's a good chance that at your age you're going to get reviewed again. So it's nothing to be terribly alarmed about that you're going through it. Because like you said, if you cooperate with them, send in the forms and stuff like that, and you've had regular ongoing treatment for your condition or conditions, you should be okay. Unless you have improved to the point, then you're able to work. And we've said this many, many times in our podcast. If you are able to work.
Yeah.
That's a great thing, So that could very well be the case. But if they're denying your case and it's like a bogus denial, there's no way they should cease my case. I haven't gotten any better, and I certainly haven't gotten better enough to where I can work now. Then you need to appeal that, possibly appoint a rep to help you out with that appeal.
Yeah, the thing that claimants should be worried about, or at least mindful of, I talk to a substantial amount of clients that they say, I was receiving benefits, they cut me off, and it's not because they filled out all the forms and then Social Security denied them. It's that they didn't fill out the forms. And a lot of times they change an address or something and they don't keep Social Security up to date.
Right.
And so those kind of technical denials, or in this case, a technical cessation, they cut you off simply because they tried to get you to fill out the ADLs and you didn't. That's important. That's a good way to lose your case, just like at the initial and recon.
Yeah,
well, at every stage, if you fail to fill out a form, they're going to deny you, and maybe they didn't even look at your medical condition. I would imagine it's the same thing with the CDRs.
I have hearings every week. And I'm not joking, and this is not hyperbole. I am absolutely telling the truth. I have hearings every week to where I'm going in front of the judge with my client, and I look at the lower levels, and the reason that my client was denied is he or she didn't fill out the forms twice. They didn't do it. They just ignored it at the initial level. They ignored it at the recon level. I don't know what they were thinking. Or they didn't go to an exam. Social Security's paying for the exam. They're going to pay the travel if it's a long distance. They're going to do everything for this exam, and you're just like, I'm not going. And you didn't go. Well, possibly somebody's told you down the line that, you know, they're not going to deny you for not filling out forms, or they're not going to deny you for not going to one of their exams. I mean, you're saving them money by not going to the exam. People might have told you that. Let me tell you emphatically, that is absolutely untrue. I see denials all the time and have hearings to where I'm going in front of a judge, and the judge is going to ask first thing out, you know, what kept you from filling out, you know, a form about what you were doing, you know, during the day? And that's a great question. And I, you know, when that's asked, and of course I've already asked it to them in prep, but I want to hear what they say. Yeah, I'm interested to hear how you defend not filling out a form.
I bet you don't hear very many good answers.
They're
for
terrible
that.
answers.
Usually just, I just forgot about it.
Yeah, I mean, what we normally hear is, you know, I didn't get it. That goes nowhere because that's not true. I mean, did you get everything else? Oh, we got everything else from Social Security.
Yeah.
We just didn't get that form. Yeah, that's twice, you know, initial and reconsideration. That doesn't go over. I lost it. Okay, well,
My dog ate it.
Yeah, you can call and get another one. I in my office can print you one and, you know, and send it to you if that happens. And keep in mind also that the judges have a lot less patience with somebody who's represented because, you know, Mr. Groves, did you tell Miss Smith that it was very important for her to fill out those forms? Yes, Your Honor. But she still didn't. I guess she didn't, Your Honor. I mean, you know, we're just stuck here, you know, answering questions in a hearing about why you should have done something that you didn't do, like you're a child, when we should be talking about your conditions. We'll get there in a hearing, but I mean, if it starts out like, you know, I say they denied you because you didn't fill out the forms. I mean, why? Oh, great. You know, and it's
You're kind of just sitting there wondering the same.
So
question,
yeah,
same thing.
if it seems like we're harping on that in our podcast, it's only because we get those denials every week, and I have hearings every week to where I have to. I'll get where I need to get. We'll be arguing your case in a hearing in front of a judge, all your medical conditions. But to get there, I have to listen to the judge, probably slap your wrist and mine if I was representing you at the initial level, and I called you and said, you need to get these forms turned in. Well, you know, you got to get the forms. And then I get a call 2 weeks later, you know, they denied me. I told you they were going to deny you. Well, what are we going to do? We'll appeal it, but please,
But
on
this
the
time-
appeal, fill out the form, and then they don't. And what are we going to do now? Well, we're going to request a hearing, but expect to get, you know, slapped around a little bit from the judge about not filling out forms. It's a terrible, terrible way to lose a case, just because you don't cooperate. I'm not gonna fill out the forms. It's
Yep.
you gotta fill out.
Because you could have a great case.
And you know, I'm back to CDRs. I mean, they have to do that side by side comparison. Why did they allow you before? It could have been a judge's decision. And so they'll look at the judge's decision, what limitations he or she found, and here we are now, present day. Are those same limitations still there? Are they of the same severity? Are they posing the same kinds of limitations? If it's gotten better, has it gotten a lot better to where, I think that this person could work. You're going to get denied, and they're going to send you the forms again. So it's, you know, it's certainly cooperating with Social Security it's not optional. You know, they are the entity that the U.S. law has given authority to administer this program, the disability program, which helps not thousands, not tens of thousands, not hundreds of thousands, but millions of people are drawing Social Security disability benefits. And the entity that has been given authority to, you know, administer the program, they say that these forms are necessary, and as such, these forms are necessary. It doesn't matter if you disagree with them. You know, it's kind of like going up to somebody and, you know, they're looking up at this wonderfully blue sky, and you saying, well, I don't believe that sky's blue. I think that it's chartreuse. Well, you might think that, but the fact of the matter is still the fact of the matter. I don't want to fill out the forms. You still got to do it. Well, I'm not going to do it. Okay, well, you're going to get denied. Why did they deny me? Things have consequences.
Right. Okay. Well, is there anything else you want to add for CDRs, or if Social Security stops a client's benefits, or do you think that's a good place
No,
to wrap
nothing
it
to
up?
add, but just remember that if you do get that letter, that cessation letter, we're going to cease your benefits. They're going to stop. You got 2 appeals to worry about. The normal one, that if you went through the initial and reconsideration level or even the hearing level, you know that you got 60 days, 60 days, 60 days. And at the CDR level, you still have 60 days to appeal the decision that we're going to cease you. But you only have 10 days to tell them, while you're ceasing, while I'm appealing this cessation, I want my benefits to continue. I still, this is a gut punch for me. I depend on this monthly check. I need for those benefits to continue while I'm appealing the case. I don't believe that I've gotten better, and so I need for my benefits to continue. 10 days, and they're kind of hard and fast on that. If you don't do it within 10 days, you're going to have to give them a tremendously spectacular reason why. So just be mindful of that. But yeah, that's all I have on that.
Okay. We'll end it there.
Groovy.
If you have a question about your disability case, drop it in the comment section below, and we will do our best to answer it in the next episode.